Hello everyone on YouTube, it's Tate the Lawn Cutting and Rail Fanning Musician, back with a unique video. It's going to be awesome, because it's going to be a unique video. Let me just set the camera up straight and we'll get started. Today's video is going to be kind of unique, because we're going to talk about and compare what playing violin is like to doing lawn cutting videos or cutting grass. Let me just position in a way that's gonna... Now, playing a violin and cutting grass, how do those compare and contrast each other? Well, first thing is, obviously playing a violin, you have a bow and a violin. And then cutting grass, you're using a lawnmower, a weed eater, and a leaf blower. But there is one thing they have in common: control and how it's clean, versus on a violin, how clean is the sound versus how clean is the cut when you're cutting grass. Now let's get down to, I'm going to break this up into two parts of the, and there's also going to be an RGB. I forgot to say all this at the beginning. I'm also going to see what this violin looks like under RGB lighting, which I do have the RGB lamp on, and that's what I'm using as my light source. So how does this compare? So first things first, you're priming the bow. You're priming the weed eater bulb, like you're tightening up your bow and getting it ready, and you're rosining it. That's the same thing as priming the bulb on the weed eater, getting the fuel through the tank and the carburetor. And then you go to put on choke, which is pretty much like tightening the bow. You're choking it, and then you pull it. And then on a violin, it's kind of different. You're setting it up and then getting ready to play. Now, this is where control comes into play. When you're playing a violin, you have to maintain bow control, even pressure, and you want to make sure the bow doesn't bounce like this. You don't want it to go like this. It's also like when you're doing staccato notes or you're switching strings. And also, this is where the clean sound comes into play. Make sure you have a clean sound all the way. Now, the bow bouncing is prominent on the last string when you... So yep, there it is, last string. Well, all strings can have sort of a bouncing on the bow, and that's where the control comes into play. You don't want to go too wild when you're running a weed eater, and then at the same time you don't want to bounce the bow, and you don't want to put too much pressure on the strings because it'll make that sound. You don't want to put less pressure on the strings because it'll make that sound. You want to make sure it's even and it sounds like this. Also, your area that you bow in, just like when using a weed eater. Now, a weed eater, you have to hold the trimmer head, the weed eater head flat against the ground to where it's, and also you have to adjust it to the area you're weed eating, whether it's a hill or just like the bridge on a violin. If you look at the bridge on a violin, it's rounded. It's just like the strings. So you want to adjust the bow to the strings, just like you adjust the weed eater to the terrain of where you're cutting. And you also want to maintain an even amount of pressure. Just like how you should hold a weed eater, you don't want to basically put the weed eater into the ground, or you're basically cutting the ground instead of the grass. So you want to make sure you have an even amount of pressure. Just like that. And that is how comparing a lawnmower to a weed eater, or a weed eater to a violin, is. And now we're going to see what this violin looks like under different colored lighting And I will be using my RGB remote to change the colors. Let me just grab that. No. So under red light, this is what it looks like under a soft white light. Unfortunately, I don't have a pure white setting on here, but that's what it looks like. It looks like its normal color. You just bring it in. Under red light, this is what it looks like. It's kind of dark, but that's what it actually looks like. It has a dark red. And also the strings kind of glow red too under this type of lighting. Green light, the violin kind of looks green. And the strings, the violin kind of looks more brown, but the strings do kind of glow a green color. Blue light, the violin kind of looks purple, and the strings glow blue. But it actually has more of a violet type color because it's a red violin and there's blue light bouncing down. Well, kind of a reddish orange, or yeah, pretty much like that. And then the strings are just glowing their normal blue color. Now the bridge on this thing will actually light up the regular color of the light that's reflecting off of it. So if it's red light, the bridge will reflect red. If it's green light, the bridge will reflect green. If it's blue light, the bridge will reflect blue. Yellow light, the violin kind of looks more like its natural red-yellow color. The strings and bridge glow blue, or actually yellow. Magenta, the violin kind of has that violet color too, or purple. And then the strings and bridge glow magenta. And then cyan, the violin looks like a greenish brown, just like the green, but this one's more like, it's like a bluish green brown, like a turquoise or teal. And then the strings and the bridge glow cyan. So there it is. That is my comparison of lawn cutting to violin playing, and also the violin under different colored lighting. Thank you for watching.